There was this intellectual guy named John Raleigh that would come and hang out, and he'd tell me about salmon guys that were really doing a better job. Well, in fact, he had been in Alaska fishing in Southeast a couple years after my last year there. So we had some kinship, and John was very interesting in that in his early days, he found resources that I couldn't find. He had exposed us to the idea of this incredible early run of salmon that came from the Copper River.
So he had come across this fish up in Alaska in the Copper River where they were taking the fish and running them through a processing plant, putting them in cans and putting them in the grocery store shelf. And they would sit in cans forever until someone bought them. And he saw this animal and he said, well, these things are just circling around in the sound eating shrimp until they're fat enough to run up the river. And they're just beautiful animals. It's a long river, so they have to get a lot of fat to make that journey. And he had said, what if we took this to the States and we marketed it correctly? Would they be able to pay for it? So he was smart and helped create a demand that would satisfy the need to harvest the fish way up there and treat it special.
It was the one of the first fish that was recognized as its own thing, as opposed to just, I'm going to a restaurant and I'm going to buy salmon. You got it from a certain river.
They were fabulous fish, real fat. I mean, they were dripping with wonderful, wonderful flavor and oils. So the season then came on, and we sent John up there with the mission to find the best fish, get them from Cordova to Anchorage, get them from Anchorage to here. And we bought, I don't know how many, but a bunch of Copper River fish, and we were proud to think that we were one of the first restaurants in town to serve them.
And it's an amazing animal to get. It's amazing to see the process up in Cordova. It's amazing to see it when it lands here and all the fervor. And the prices might be a little high, but it is, in my opinion, it's what salmon should be.
Cordova was amazing, beautiful. From the flight in, to the fact that it was 72 degrees when we got there. The night before the actual opener, we had hooked up with a good friend of Davis's who from Ocean Beauty. Her name is Janelle, and she brought us to this cool beach on the side of another river, or a tributary to the sound there. And we watched in the distance the boats leaving the harbor, getting out there before nightfall. So they were going to stay the night out there. I would say that was one of my first impressions, and I think that it was one of the longest lastings. Being able to just sit there and watch them head out full speed, the sun never fully setting, just kind of playing with the tree line of the mountain. So that evening we were able to walk out onto the jetty and watch them all come back in, and that was pretty powerful as well. Cordova's beautiful. Yeah.
It was John Raleigh who was a marketing genius and got people to recognize that this fish was special as opposed to BC King. That there really is a difference between the fish. And if you work with fish enough, you understand that there's a difference, but a lot of times people don't see that on their plate.
At that time, there was an ambitious group of people that were wine brokers in South Seattle, and some of the staff and myself went down for a little tasting. It was a barrel tasting of Oregon Pinot Noir. And then I learned that it was Pommard Clone, pure Pommard Clone. So I said, this is fabulous. This wine will drink really well with Copper River salmon, with king salmon. And at that point, nobody drank red wines with fish particularly, but it works super well, especially the Pommard Clone.
Well, of course, one of the great local wines in the area, the Willamette Valley Pinot Noir, is easily one of the greatest regions in the world for Pinot Noir, is the Willamette Valley in Oregon. One of the great pairings is that Pinot Noir and fresh wild king salmon. And it's funny because a lot of people ascribe to the classic myth that you should drink white wine with fish and red wine with steaks. And that's true to a certain extent, but Pinot Noir and salmon is one of those great pairings that really goes against that model, because salmon, especially that incredible wild, fresh Northwest King salmon and Copper River salmon specifically has an incredible high oil content. They're very rich, they're very meaty, it's almost steak-like in its incredible texture and richness. So what you need to pair with that is a wine that has really a lot of great acidity. And what acid is in wine is it's what makes wine really refreshing. It's what cleanses the palate. It's what can wash those incredible fatty oils off of your palate and complement the richness of the fish. And Willamette Valley is fortunate because the growing conditions are just cold enough that they are able to retain great acidity in those Pinot Noir grapes. You match that with the earthy minerality of some of those Pinot Noirs from Oregon, as well as some of their delicate dark and red berry flavors, and it's just a perfect combination to those rich local salmon.